Welcome and greetings. My name is Dr. Dean Blevins, and I'd like to welcome you to this course, CED630, Ministry with Children, and hope to use this opening PowerPoint presentation as a way of providing you an orientation to the class itself, as well as a little bit of an introduction to the nature of ministry, particularly ministry with children in our contemporary day and age. Now, I recognize that for some of you that are seeing this presentation for the first time, you're already active within children's ministry, perhaps even have a very vibrant ministry at this point. But I hope that this introduction will give you a chance of reflecting on where you are within children's ministry, as well as understanding the overall focus of the course and what it hopes to help you do as we move forward in the class. To begin with, when you think about ministry with children, CED 630, one thing we have to acknowledge that this is a very basic course with a children's ministries emphasis. As a result of that, it's designed actually to be used with students who are just going into children's ministry for the first time, albeit providing an introduction to that field from a graduate theological perspective. But this course is really designed to give you sort of that basic introduction. And yet it also has a focus on the comprehensive ministry that we engage in when we do children's ministry in the local church. For experienced children's pastors, the class in some ways may be a refresher to a number of areas in which you're already engaged. But for those of you who really have not been in children's ministry for an extensive period of time, the course really hopes to give you a kind of comprehensive overview and help you to understand the way in which children's ministry unfolds in the local congregation. Now, it does include some understanding children, and one way to think about that is the way in which we often describe where children are, as well as include components of practicing ministry alongside that. And that's really important since many of the aspects of this class really occur through asynchronous online engagement. And so I hope you'll discover that as we go along in this class, there'll be moments where we are reflecting upon the very basics of who are children, albeit in these sort of general conversations to begin with, so that we can be even more focused on the actual practice of ministry as time goes along. It does include the assumption of contact with children's ministry in a local church. This course really assumes from the very beginning that all the students have access to a local congregation, and they're either already working as a children's pastor, or at least that they are being able to work under the supervision of a children's pastor or a director of children's ministry as they play out the course in developing their skills, their understanding of children, and their skills in doing ministry with children in mind. Now, when you think about some of the basic requirements of the class, obviously the first thing is that there's a considerable amount of reading that's associated with the class. This is not surprising in a graduate theological setting, and that a lot of that reading takes on a kind of seminar interaction focus instead of a lecture-based summarization of that reading, particularly through the online components. This is one reason why students are required to read weekly and then to interact through online reflection, because what we're looking for there is a way in which we can gauge how the students are interacting with the material. This is really important at the graduate level because it is less about how the professor delivers the content as it is about assessing how the student is processing the content. And one way to think about that is that many of your textbooks do function as preliminary lectures to provide for you content by which you will then demonstrate some level of engagement and understanding through the online environment. Now, I'm not expecting you to do comprehensive summaries of all the reading. That would actually be counterproductive. But what I'm hoping you'll do is each week as you read the material that you will find key components of it that resonate with you in the way you're either thinking about children's ministry or you're engaging in it, and that you'll interact with that material in a very robust way. So let me stress, we'll be reading a lot of material, not expecting you to summarize it all, but expecting you to find what you think are key observations and insights that you will bring forward into the online environment so that you have some place by which to process that and interact with other students as well as with the professor in mind. In a way, we're just charting your reflective processes through this asynchronous online environment prior to any face-to-face contact that we might have as a part of the course. In addition, the class is wrapped around a specific conference known as the Ignite Conference that is designed as a resource for children's pastors, primarily in the Church of the Nazarene. Ignite provides an opportunity to gather, not only as a class, but also to gather with other children's pastors and children's workers and reflect together on the nature of children's ministry. Now, there's always a danger of this, particularly with something like Ignite, that the conference itself is not designed to actually replicate what normally occurs in a seminar classroom at a graduate seminary. However, as a trade-off, it does provide you a place for interaction along with other children's pastors and hearing some conference speakers that many times are enlightening and helpful. Sometimes conference speakers that interact directly with the content that you're reading. And hopefully Ignite will serve as a kind of catalytic point by which you can be gauging the nature of the reading that you've already been working in and thinking about how it interacts with the themes that are presented at the conference itself. I will be there as with part of Ignite, hopefully the majority of it, so it's also an opportunity to engage with the professor, and we'll probably find times where we'll sort of set together either during a meal or during other breaks during the Ignite conference to really process not only what's being said at the conference, but also how that interacts with the reading that you'll have done up until that point in the semester. There is also a reading report that you'll be asked to do that anticipates some of the research that you'll be engaged in for the future. One of the things that we're looking for is areas in which you self-identify that you think are important that you'd like to do more work in. Sometimes this is the most fruitful part of the class, particularly for seasoned children's pastors, because it gives you an opportunity to name for yourself some areas that you would like to continue enhancing your own learning. There will be a time of testing your analytic skills, primarily through a comparative book review, and this may be the most academic component that goes on in the class because we want you to be engaged in that and to take that seriously as a part of the course as you move forward. And also, finally, the major assignment for the course is a portfolio that you will do that demonstrates sort of your ability in ministry, your competency when it comes to conducting a comprehensive approach to children's ministry. You'll see the components of that detailed in the syllabus. In a way, the portfolio is, in this class, is a kind of beginning point for the comprehensive portfolio that you create for the Masters of Arts in Christian Formation and Discipleship. And this becomes a way by which you can demonstrate your capacity of turning what you're reading and thinking about in the class into concrete artifacts that represents ministry. For some of you, this may be drawing on your current professional ministry and incorporating those into the portfolio, but being selective enough to show how they actually demonstrate the quality not only of your ministry, but the quality of your learning as it intersects with the course content. For those of you who do not have as much experience, this gives you an opportunity to begin to create, if you will, artifacts that you are drawing insights and inspiration from out of the reading, out of the course interaction, so that you can begin to demonstrate your ability to run a children's ministry program in the future. So that portfolio may be both looking back to the skills you've already begun to develop as well as looking forward to the skills that you need to improve upon. But ultimately, the portfolio is the primary way by which to assess your understanding and growth throughout the class. And so I would keep that in front of you throughout the semester. Well, hopefully that provides enough of an overview to the course itself that this will suffice as a beginning lecture. And then we'll take a short break and come back and talk a little bit about the rise of where children's ministry has come from and where it's going in the future.